Hey Mom, what's up? Happy Tuesday. I'm so silly. Anywho, it's your girl Charmaine Johnson Fuller, life strategist with the Charm Life. Here is a space where I support entrepreneurial moms of color that have special needs kids to create the time, energy, focus, freedom in their life that they desire without the overwhelm. So today, what am I talking about? Because I'm like, hey Ma, you are doing the most. Most mamas are doing the most. The most, all the things, everything, pepper it in. I want to do this, I want to do that. Then you have your kids doing all the things, and then you're exhausted AF, and you're wondering why you're exhausted, and then you find more stuff for yourself to do, and you wonder why you're always tired. If that sounds like you, give me a hands up emoji in the comment section below, or a yes girl if you are feeling me on that, where it feels like no matter what, no matter what, no matter how much you knock off your list, no matter how meticulously you put your list together, at the end of the day, there's more shit on it than when you started. If you can feel me on that, let me know down in the comment section below. Why is that? Have you ever asked yourself the question, how come I end up with more things on my list than when I started? Or how come I don't seem to be knocking any of the things off on my list? Let me give you a grand example, because I love examples and I love telling stories. So here goes. So one of my clients that I was working with had been using this high-end planner for years, right? She's like, yeah, I've been using this since high school, and yeah, I've been using this since high school, and it pretty much keeps things together. And when I looked in her planner, it was literally like there was supposed to be a system of how she was supposed to use this planner. That planner was for real, a glorified to-do list. And each day, maybe on one or two of the days, she would actually have a project that she was working on for her job, or she would have something of that nature in there every now and again. But most days, this high-end planner was nothing more than a list of shit to do for her business, for her job, for her family, the places that she had to carry the kids. And there was a lot of things in there that she knew how to do that necessarily didn't need reminding, that didn't necessarily need to be plugged in and blocked out. She wasn't even blocking time. She was just literally writing the section that had the times where you're supposed to have your time, this is from this time to this time, was just an extra column for shit to do. And she's like, well, yeah, it's working pretty well. It helps me to keep up with what needs to be done. And so I asked her the question. I said, well, what do you want? Well, I want to stop feeling like I have so much to do. I said, no. When you look at your schedule every day, what's the thing you're going for? What's your intention? What are you intentionally trying to create each day? And she kind of gave me this blank stare and was like, well, I don't know. I don't know what I intentionally want to create each day. I just know I want to stop feeling so damned overwhelmed. And so we had this beautiful conversation about doing less. We had this fabulous conversation about being intentional, because let's be for real. Nobody really teaches us about intentionality in our lives as we're growing up, especially if you're a woman that's a certain age. Some of y'all millennials and stuff, y'all may have come up with that. But for most of us that are of a certain age, we are not taught about being intentional in your day. If your mom was anything like my mom and my aunts and the women that I grew up around, hey, whoever popped in, it was all about what to do. It wasn't really about being intentional. It was just that they knew they were moms. They knew there were things that needed to be done that kept the household flowing. And so their day was just consumed with these things that maintained life. That was the consummation of their day. And so we really, even if you go, or if you've went to one of these workshops where they teach you how to allegedly manage your time, they never really start off with intentionality. They never really start off with you being clear about how you want your day to feel, What things are you working on? They're never really clear about those things. And so what I discovered with my client is that while she had this beautiful planner, this is why I always say it's not the planner, it's the plan. That I have planned successful weeks, successes on some flipping index cards and a spiral notebook. I have planned some fabulous things. I didn't need this, overdone planner to make things work. That it's never really, the planner is a great help piece, but it's not going to be necessarily the thing that pushes you forward through to success. So as we looked at her day, of course she found out that a lot of the things on her to-do list did not need to be done, and specifically didn't need to be done by her. Didn't need to be done by her. She didn't even need to be worried about it. It was a lot of things on there that belonged to other people. It were things on that list that frankly just, again, were things that didn't even warrant her attention. But because she didn't have that focus, she ended up being on team too much, where there was always something to do. Again, I don't know how you guys grew up, but how I grew up was like, keep busy. That was the thing. You keep busy. The idle hands are the devil's workshop. Always finding something to do. So a lot of us came up in this space where if you weren't doing something, bump if it was actually intentional or that it was something that was taking you closer to a goal. Honestly, I feel like I was raised in a generation of busy work, that as long as you had something to do. And so she had to break that belief system of just going, I have something to do, to making her day more intentional. Now, she still uses the same planner, but now it has intentionality to her now. Now the things that she's placing in there are actually taking her towards a certain goal or feeling, and not just filling in the spaces of her day with things to do. Because here's, like I said at the beginning, what happens is that you get to the end of the day, and either you have more things on there than when you started, or all the same stuff is still on there because other random stuff came up. And so now, you've forgotten about the stuff on the list because this other random stuff, like you keep being carried from one random thing to another. If you've ever read Outwitting the Devil, or if you've never read Outwitting the Devil, it's called drifting. A lot of us have this thing that we can just drift from one thing to the next without any real intention. And intention is the thing that's going to save your sanity, and having that together. Here's what she learned, and here's what I learned from getting off of Team Too Much, getting off of the Too Much tour bus. Again, the way the society is set up, do more, be more, have more, all this more, without the intentionality of what are you going to do with the more? Why do you even want more? Are questions that aren't often asked. It's just more. One of the most profound questions that was ever asked of me was in a mastermind session. And, if you've ever masterminded before, everybody everyone goes over the things that they are working on manifesting within that mastermind and within that period that mastermind is in existence. And the ideas, the things that I had in my mind that were the ideologies of success, one of my mastermind partners challenged me, and she says, well, why do you want that? And it stopped me dead in my tracks. Like I couldn't talk. I'm like, I'm thinking, I don't know, because it's something that somebody at that particular status symbol should have. And she goes, well, no, why do you want it? She's like, I get that, a lot of people probably at that income level have that particular thing, but why do you want it? Like, what is the connection piece for you? And honestly, I didn't have one. And I realized how that seeped over into other areas of my life, even with dealing with my special needs kids. When I didn't have an intention, because, they ask you that question every time you go into IEP, right? What are the goals you have for your child? And oftentimes as parents, we don't have a clear vision of what that looks like. We have these, I just want them to talk, I want them to stop, hitting, or, I want this to happen, and I want that, they're really kind of vague things. I just need a break, especially when it comes to respite. I just need a break, which is a true statement, but it's not specific. right? It's specific, but it's not really specific. Like, why do you need respite? So I don't roll off and kill this kid because I'm exhausted because he keeps fucking yelling at me. That's why I need respite. Not just because I need a break, but because I'm at my breaking point. That's a completely different conversation. I actually told Squirrel, I actually told a supports coordinator that, because they was jerking me around, that, oh wait, that was a bad reference. They were not on their jobs. And every time I would ask her about respite, and I'm sure many of you have been through this, I got the runaround. I got, well, it's really hard for us to find somebody. Like, they don't tell you the process. You've got to pretty much figure that shit out on your own, because sometimes even if you ask them, you're not getting the full story. Anywho, it was just like, it was important to her, but it wasn't really important to her until I said, if I don't get a break, something not great is going to happen. So we need to have emergency something, like, really quick. When I tell you she was Johnny on the spot with that, she was Johnny on the spot. And, she and I then began to work together because a couple of other things. As I got more intentional about what it was that I wanted, I was able to do some of the footwork so that she could just sign the documents. Anywho, that was my own squirrel fighting. But it carries over into all the pieces of your life. It carries over into the goals and things that you have with your kids. It carries over into your business goals, your business actions and things that you take each and every day. It spills over into all these different pieces, not being intentional, not having intentionality, not being clear. That spills over. When you are clear, you're able to create order. And then once you have order, then you're able to create freedom. They all plan together. So having that clarity is going to be everything for you. And that's how it was for my client. Once she was able to clearly see the full picture of what was going on and how she wanted things to look, she was able to create days that were not as stressful because they were very clear and concise. She didn't feel like she was being pulled from one space to another. It was a very clear path, right? She no longer had, again, this to-do list of random stuff that was just like, buy new air filters, call and see about some tables for something. And 90% of the things on this to-do list had nothing to do with the goals that she and I had discussed. I'm like, why aren't you on your calendar? Why aren't you there? Why is everybody's everything else there? But the things that you said were important, that was a part of your relief plan, why isn't it there? So here's what she discovered and what I discovered when you do the least. One, life has more smiles. You're able to breathe. You're able to flow. You're not as stressed out when life happens, which it happens on a daily basis. You're not flipping out when an appointment ends at 10:30 versus, especially when you're dealing with specialists. When your appointment ends at 10:30 versus 9:30, you're not flipping out about your day because there's that flow. You don't have a whole bunch of stuff packed in. So if something goes over, like it does when you go fool with a doctor's office or even with a supports coordinator or anything within the system, then you're not as stressed. That takes a big chunk of overwhelm off. Then actually having the opportunity to take breath time. Being able to sit and meditate for 2 minutes or stare out the window. Reducing and relieving some of that stress level. Lowering those cortisol levels. Bringing it down. Helped her out so much because then she showed up as a different mom. She showed up as a mom that was willing to listen, that had a bit more patience. She showed up as a mom that didn't feel like she was always against the gun, And the last thing that all of my clients discover when I have them clean up their list, and what I've always discovered, the less you have, the more you actually get done. The way that I had her break up her list, not only on I would say 70 to 80% of her days, depending on what the items were, was she not only able to slay the things that needed to be slayed, she was actually able to participate in life and take care of some other things that maybe, you know, was a thought in her head, or some research and development type of stuff. Like, everything in her day was not consumed with random things to do. And so she found herself doing more. She found herself more engaged in the things that she was doing, versus always going, okay, as soon as I'm done eating dinner with my kids, I'm going to go do this. Like, there wasn't this, she was able to be present. That's the word I'm looking for. She was able to be present and not be in the middle of spending time with her kids and thinking about a landing page or a Facebook video or what's coming next. She was able to be more present. So ask yourself, am I team too much? Am I clear about what's going on? Am I clear about what I want? Am I clear in my day, or does it feel like I am just packing stuff in and just rolling with the pieces of life? What is that looking like for me? If you are finding that, you know, as you answer these questions, if you're finding, it's always different. Okay, there we go. If you're finding that you are not really clear, if you're finding that your list every day makes you hyperventilate because it's a struggle trying to do all these things, you know, you wake up tired, you go to bed super late, all the shit on your list still isn't done, and then you can't go to sleep because you're thinking about all the things that you haven't accomplished off of that list. If you are finding that, if you're finding yourself feeling that, let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's get you out of that space of overwhelm. My unload overwhelm strategy sessions are bomb. The link will be in the comment section below. But it's 45 minutes. It's a free call. And we go through all of that. Help you to create a relief plan and get some space in your life. So, where do you need clarity? Where do you need clarity? Where do you need to see clearly? Is it everything? Or is it a certain area that's giving you the absolute fluxiest of the flux? I can't wait to talk to you. I can't wait to support you. And this is a free strategy session. No strings. So click the link below. Book your session now. Get it in. And I will talk to you all later. Take care. Remember, love yourself, love your family, love your business in that order. And I'll see you all later, ladies. Bye.